has been. So obviously we've just been going through your roadmap and the spreadsheet and everything. So I'm interested to hear a bit about I guess where you were at like before you joined the academy in terms of like your finances and your kind of thoughts around how you were going to retire or achieve any kind of goals that you had.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, essentially I suppose the academy's provided quite a lot of clarity to me in quite a straightforward way. It's not complicated. So I mean, I think I said to you before, Joe, I had a similar version of a spreadsheet, but nowhere near as powerful as yours. And what it really has helped me do is look at how I can bring, I suppose I have a reasonable income, but I didn't feel like I was using it wisely, so I wasn't going after any of my debts. I have rental properties that I don't pay I pay the interest on, but I don't pay any capital. So I suppose really it's helped me just look at formalizing a plan for retirement, because I didn't have any way. I kept saying in my head, I want to retire at 60, but I didn't have a path. Now I feel like I have a path, right? So now I feel like the steps we've taken and the things you've explained to me and the methods and processes we've followed, that I now see that I have a path that has maybe taken me from looking at retirement at, what was it, 67, I suppose, is the government, I wouldn't say the target, but that's when I'm entitled to retire. I was aiming at 60, but I had no plan to get there. And now I guess I'm looking at 58 if I follow the steps that we agreed together in the roadmap. So no, super positive in terms of that. I had no way forward, honestly. I mean, I wasn't lost, but I didn't know where I was going.
Yeah.
It's probably the same thing.
That's the thing, right? It's the same thing for a lot of people. I think it's that kind of clarity piece. It's like, I know I can probably do this, but where do I begin and what actually can I achieve, right? And that's kind of, what I always kind of set out to give people is that point in time where they know they're going to achieve that goal. That's awesome. I'm glad it's kind of giving you that. So I'm really happy to hear that. So I guess you kind of just covered this then. So when it came to your retirement, you mentioned, the state retirement age is like what everyone when everyone assumes that they're going to retire. So was that kind of where you just had in mind, like it will probably happen then?
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I suppose like many, I mean, I don't struggle. I don't dislike my work. I just don't want to be working at somebody else's time and a place, right? So I'm getting to the age, I'm 49 now, I'm 50 this year. I was sort of looking at trying to retire early, but I had no plan to get there. So 67 in my head was always where it was going to end up. But I suppose I had this romantic notion in my head that I was going to retire at 60, but until now, no plan to get there, right? So I mean, notwithstanding, I mean, given the amount of commitments I have financially, I'm prepared to work till 75, right? So I didn't have anything that was saying it had to be 67. 67 was what the government decrees, but I was looking for earlier, and I suppose we're there now, right? So just need to put it into action. So yeah.
Indeed, yeah. So okay, so talk to me about like your plans in terms of like your mortgages and your rentals and things like that we kind of touched on. Was your plan always to just kind of like meet the minimums on those and let them kind of like ride along?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, we've been in this low interest world, right? Where although I wasn't paying any capital on my mortgages, maybe I was paying 40% of the money I was receiving in rent, I was paying as the mortgage, but I wasn't servicing any of the capital. And now in the last 2 or 3 years, well, I suppose in the last 12 months primarily, the interest rates have gone up from whatever it was, 0.5% to now, was it 5%? Approaching 5% anyway. So it really, I guess how I ended up in this situation where we were communicating and I got involved was I could sort of see that situation now coming home to roost. So I didn't have a plan to service the mortgage. And now that the mortgage payments were creeping up towards what I receive in rent, I didn't really have any plan to reduce the capital amount, right? So due pretty much to my laxity over the previous 4 or 5 years where I should have been paying down some of the capital. Yeah. So that's really when we started talking, I started thinking my plan always was I'm taking in more rental income than I'm having to pay out in a mortgage. Yeah. But I could see that situation changing and it scared me a little bit. And that's really why I started looking for help. So
See, fair enough. Yeah. So obviously we were just running through that, weren't we? And we were looking, based on what the terms were before, it looked like you were going to be paying for, looked like the mortgages were going to be running for about 30 years. And we managed to get that down to 9, right? Based on just the Avalanche method. And that's before we start factoring in any kind of overpayments, which we think we may be able to make, but we're going to kind of treat month by month to see what you can achieve, right? So I'm really excited to see what you can get that down to there. And the biggest thing for me that stuck out was that the over 180k in interest down to 68, was it, you said?
Yeah,
So saving about saving about 110k in interest over that period. So that's like, that's why I do what I do. These are the numbers that I love. So no, I'm really excited for that.
Me too, and it's quite eye-watering, and I had no idea around these methods before we started talking, right? The snowball and the avalanche method, and really the power of that, the debt payoff planner is incredible, actually, because it's so flexible in terms of how you can add in. If you think you're going to be getting incremental amounts or you're going to be short some months, you can play around with it, and it's really quite. I think it's quite a motivational tool, because you look at it and see you can bring the term down. And as you mentioned, just the saving on the interest alone is over 100k, just based on completing the analysis and filling in the tables and the spreadsheets and our conversation. So yeah, very powerful. Very happy.
And I know you mentioned this already. I'd love to hear kind of what your thoughts are about just kind of like the program generally. Do you feel like it's like the other features are helpful, like the group calls and the video course and things like that? Do you feel like it's helping you get to where you want to be?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the sort of catalogue of videos and tutorials that you have and lessons are really helpful, because you can go after those in your own time. We're communicating through the Discord group. If I've got any questions, I can come directly. Having watched the video, you have that chat window open up, which is great. I mean, I think the weekly calls are also really powerful. I think I've only missed one in all the time, and I was on holiday. I think I was on the golf course. But I think I found it quite useful, because we always have a set topic in there that's of interest to the group, but also it's a forum where you can share ideas or clarifying a few things during the call that aren't maybe clear to me or that come up during the call. And I think everyone uses it in the same way, and it creates that sort of community where everyone's sort of contributing and we're just having a good call. The topic might be high yield savings accounts, but we're all addressing each individual little queries as we go through it in different circumstances for different folks, right? So it's very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. It's been my favorite part of doing this, actually. I was always kind of uncertain around how those group calls would go, but I always come away from those like real high energy, feeling like, because everyone's always got really good contributions. So yeah, I love those. Cool. I'm glad you're finding it as helpful as I intended it to be. What would you say to someone who's kind of thinking of joining but kind of is unsure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably a little, I would say more mature, older than probably your target audience typically. But I mean, I think what I would say is, having come into this at 49 without a plan to get to 60, which is my retirement age in my head, it's helped me with that. I mean, if I was coming into this plan, a bit into the academy, as a younger man or woman, I think it's incredibly powerful. I mean, I think I'd probably be retired already if I came, if I came into this when I was 29. I think I'd already have a plan to retire at my age now, right? So yeah. But even having come to it late, I suppose the point I'd make, even having come to it quite late in the party, is that I can still see an enormous benefit, and it's 100% worth the investment. And I think your style, Joe, is very friendly, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. We all are quite open with each other. We've all made mistakes, and financially or otherwise in the past, and it's quite an open forum. We talk openly, and I think it's very, very helpful. I think anyone would be doing themselves a big favor to join. Honestly, I think it's very powerful.
Amazing.
I'm very
I
happy
appreciate
with
that.
Yeah.
Love that. Thanks, Neil. And final thing, and then I'll let you get on. But is there anything you would change? Anything that kind of hasn't been helpful, or would be more helpful if it was kind of adapted in any way? Just kind of more constructive feedback for me, really.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's anything lacking I mean, on the program, on the academy, honestly, I mean, I think there's always things like, and I think I asked you a question a few weeks ago around EIS when we were talking about investing in the tax breaks around EIS. Now that's quite tailored for something that I'd be thinking about. It's not really for everyone else, but you always took it away, came back with some thoughts on it, even if it wasn't the idea of the session, and maybe it wasn't relevant to everyone else. So I mean, I think there's always some niche areas that you could cover in more detail, but they don't apply to everyone that's in the academy. So I think when that happens, you go away and do the research and go back with that, and that's very helpful. But I mean, no, I don't see any. The methods are straightforward, and I think when you communicate them, they're even more straightforward. I mean, there's nothing judgmental about it. There's nothing. We all are where we are in life, right, for different reasons. So I think we all come in with a clean slate, and I know if I have any questions, I'll get them answered and answered promptly. So I don't think there's anything lacking, honestly, Joe.
Amazing. I appreciate it. Thanks, Neil. All right.